going on, everyone? I am super excited because the Renaissance Festival is in Colorado finally, and I have not been able to work on my Ren Faire costume yet because Comic-Con had just passed through and my mom's birthday, and so it was just this big, I wanted to make it super big. I'm like the Leslie Knope of birthdays.
And every year she gets me something thoughtful and personal. It makes me furious.
I love throwing birthday parties and just making them bigger than ever. So I threw her this huge tea party and it was so cute. Oh my God. And she loved it, so that's what really mattered. So now it is time to get to work on my Ren Faire costume because the Renaissance Festival is only here for so long. I want to get this done. So this year I actually wanted to go as a fairy. Hold on. I have to take this out of my ear because Toxic is playing by Britney Spears and it is just throwing me off. So this year I actually couldn't really fully decide on what I wanted to go as, but I do know this. I always go as something that I can wear, like a hat or something, because I hate wearing sunglasses with my Ren Faire costumes. I feel like it ruins it and throws it off because what Renaissance costume actually has sunglasses, unless it's like a steampunk look or something that's more futuristic where you could wear sunglasses where it look cute. So I always wear something to keep the sun out of my eyes, like a hat. And if you've ever Googled Renaissance hats, they're not meant to keep the sun out of your eyes. They were like pointy and dainty and like pulled back from your head. And yeah, they were not trying to keep women, their faces protected from the sun. They did not care. That is my theory anyway. They did not care until later in the 18th century and the 19th. Obviously the 18th, they started wearing hats, and I feel like we should bring that back. The Marie Antoinette style hats. I loved those hats, and they protected the women's face and protected them from the UV rays, and I think they should come back, but that's besides the point. So my thought was to go as a fairy, but the last time I was at the Ren Faire, I was being hit by so many people because it was so crowded, and all I can think of is I don't want my fairy wings to get destroyed, so I ixnayed that. I don't want to go as a fairy because I really don't want to make wings that are just going to get destroyed. And I decided on, so this year I was thinking something that looked with like plaid, maybe something Irish, something Scottish. My grandfather was Irish, so I thought some plaid. Now I don't know what I know there's like specific materials that go along with clans and whatnot. I don't know anything about that. All I know is that I thrifted up the cutest skirt, and I'm going to be making my Irish looking Renaissance costume with this skirt. I'm going to be making a top to go with it, and I already have a straw hat. I'll either make a new hat or I'm just going to wear that one. So here is the skirt that I thrifted. Look at this print. It is kind of Christmassy, but I love that. It is my favorite holiday, so I'm not mad. I'm not mad at it. And it is corduroy, so this is going to be hot, but it is 100% cotton, so it should breathe just fine. It also has pockets. I mean, this is cute. This is cute. Look at this. Okay, let me show you what it looks like now before I alter it. One of my favorite things about this is that there is no zipper. They just put in like a placket on the side and it's just buttons. Okay, so this is the skirt that I'm going to be working with. Again, pockets is amazing. Oh, let me screw this back. Nova, what are you doing? Oh, my foot. Okay, no. Okay, so this is the skirt. So I'm going to show you how to do this with your skirts that you thrift, and it is actually super easy. You can do this with any longer skirt and make it a Renaissance style skirt, and it's just going to cost you so much less than actually buying a skirt on Amazon or purchasing a peasant type skirt. And if you already have a corset or a peasant blouse, you can just wear it with the skirt. But this is like one of the easiest things to do with the skirt. I did this last year with my daughter's skirt for Renaissance Festival, and her skirt turned out amazing. So let me show you how I did it. Let's get started. I'll stop talking. Let's just get into this, okay?
It's voiceover time. So the first thing I needed to do was seam rip the front part of my waistband away from my skirt. So it is a pain in my butt to get these threads to rip at the very beginning because everything is really put together nicely if it's a good skirt. Once you get a few of the threads ripped, it gets super easy from there on. Once it is fully detached, I measure from each side into the center of the skirt of where I want my channels to go. I am doing 4 inches from the side to the middle on both sides and marking it with chalk. Mine has a pleat in the way, so I removed that pleat so the measuring would be correct. And then I'll just add a small pleat later towards the end when I'm putting the waistband back onto the skirt. Once I've measured and created where I want the marks to go, I can create a line from the top of the skirt all the way to the bottom. This is going to be my mark where I'm going to cut up the skirt. I'm going to do this to both sides where I marked. And then if you want them to be completely even, you can measure all the way down going from the sides into the center and making sure it all lines up on both sides, or you can just ballpark it. It's completely up to you. Now you can cut up the lines you created all the way up to the top, but make sure not to cut the back part of the skirt, only the top part where you marked, and you're basically cutting out the middle front of the skirt. And also make sure not to cut the waistband that you detached. Once you're done, you should have a middle piece missing from your skirt. Now it's time to reattach the skirt pieces by putting right sides back together. So in a way, you're just taking out the middle piece of your skirt and reattaching it, but this way you have 2 seams going down the front part of your skirt to be able to create channels. So you're going to pin this so it lines up correctly, and then you're going to stitch this back together using a 5/8 seam allowance, a nice wide seam so that you can make your channels. Once you have stitched back on the middle piece of the skirt, you can press open your seams and then serge the raw edges. Unless the material does not fray, then you don't need to worry about serging, and you can just leave it as is. I serged mine in white so that you could see it better and where I'm actually stitching to create the channels. So now that the seams are pressed open, you're going to stitch down the sides where you can see the white serger thread on mine. And I'm just going to put my foot down, my presser foot, where the right side lines up with the end, and I stitch all the way down. This creates a channel for that side, and now you can do the same for the other side. And it's basically how you create boning channels for a corset as well.
Okay, so once you're done putting in your channels, your dress should look, or your skirt should look something like this. And you can see where I have the channels going down right here and right here, but if you flip it to the other side, it literally looks like a normal skirt. It looks like I did absolutely nothing to it. But I wanted to show you on the inside because I did put white serger thread so that you could see where the channels are, and there's 2, one here and one here. So I went ahead and I did one of the ribbons. So now you're just gonna get yourself some ribbon like this, and you could do green or red, whatever color you want your ribbons to be. They could be neutral, whatever, it does not matter. First, you're gonna measure how long, and you wanna go a little bit above because you are gonna stitch it closed right here. So go all the way down. And if you were to leave your skirt long, you don't want the ribbons to get stuck up inside. So I left mine a good 5 inches longer than the skirt itself. And because once you start to pull it up, these are just gonna get longer, but you do want them to kind of be able to be tied if you want your skirt to be as full as you want it to be. So my daughter this year is actually going as a witch, a Renaissance witch. And she's using several things that I have made in the past. So she's using the skirt or the apron I made last year and the witch hat I made last year as well. So this year is a good year for me because I can focus on my costume, which typically I have to work on 2 costumes, one for her and one for me, which last year she went as a red mushroom fairy, and she was saying that she was going to make the costume herself. And I was like, you are gonna make it yourself. I was determined to make sure she made it herself. I was not gonna help her at all. And then it came down to like 2 days before the Renaissance Festival, and it was the last weekend for it. And she hadn't even started on the hat. She had no idea how to make it. And I would like to say that I said, hey, looks like you're going in regular clothing. But no, I started making her outfit. Immediately, I went to work. I made her mushroom hat and her skirt all in one day. But the good thing is, I learned from that, not that she procrastinates, but what I learned was that this skirt is one of the easiest things to make. And so this is the second time I'm doing this. I loved how hers turned out. And what I love about it is that you can pick any pattern, any material from a thrift store that you want. And I know that this is 100% cotton. I'm not getting this off of Amazon. And I love that it turns out just as cute for less money. And that's always a bonus. But yes, I'm what they call a helicopter parent. And it's too late for me now, so save yourself. You're just going to take a safety pin and you're going to attach it to the end of your ribbon. Then you're going to go in through the channel, either side, because you're going to have one on each side. You're going to push it through the channel, and I'm going to make sure that the pretty side of the ribbon is facing outward, out, not towards this side, but the other side. And you just start pushing it through. It's quite tedious, but it's how it's done. My daughter and I have a tradition. We go to the Renaissance Festival every year. We've been going since she was itty bitty. And every year we dress up. I always want to go as something super cute and fun because, you know.
So not like a regular mom, I'm a cool mom.
I want to look cute too until she gets mad at me and then.
Right, Regina? Please stop talking. Okay.
All over. But she always ends up looking so adorable in everything she wears, and I always end up looking slightly frumpy, slightly hobbit looking. I'm not really sure why. So you're gonna go all the way up to the top, and then I'm gonna pull this up and out of the top. I hope you can see that. I'm gonna zoom in. Okay, so now I'm out of the top, and again, I'm gonna leave a little bit left out. Take a pin, and I'm just gonna pin it in place. And now I can remove the safety pin. And now I have 2 of the ribbons already in the channels here on this side. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do these 2, and then you just stitch straight across it to hold these ribbons in place, and they're not going anywhere. And all you have to do is put this back on and you're done. Okay, so I had to take out 2 of the pleats, and they're really large pleats. So what I'm noticing is that my waistband is not lining up. So like you can see, it's still kind of loose. So I actually can't just put this back on. I'm going to have to add a couple of pleats, which is really easy. I'm just gonna fold it, and I can fold it here, and I'm gonna fold it over here on the side, which will create 2 pleats, which will make it even to put in. If you use one without pleats, and it's just like straight across, or it's a gather stitch, then you're just gonna regather until it matches up to here. But otherwise, it's really easy to put it back together and your skirt is done. It's so cute. Okay, so I'm gonna put the other channels in, and then we're just gonna stitch across there. And you have your string sticking out at the bottom. And I went ahead and I stitched these together so you don't even have to worry. Like, they're not going anywhere now. You can trim away the excess.
And now you can reattach the waistband back onto the skirt. I did add 2 small pleats onto my skirt so that everything would line up properly. And then I just pinned back on the waistband and did a top stitch across the front of the skirt. And it's done.
And voila, it is done. Ignore my socks. You can't even tell in the front that I did anything to it. Like, it looks the same, but now that I have the channels in, I can do this. And you can even leave it one-sided if you want and not even take up the other side. But since you have 2 channels, And you can make this as tight or as loose as you want. It doesn't have to go all the way up. And voila. Now I'm showing off those pasty pale legs. Okay, so maybe you'd get a better idea of this being Renaissance if this was an entire Renaissance outfit. Let's go ahead and put on some stuff to make this look a little better.
Are thou feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
This chemise that I'm wearing is not a full-length one, and I don't own one, and I have been Googling all morning how to make one, so my plan, and I actually found a pattern, so I'm super excited about that, for a chemise, which I'm not gonna lie, I know I'm saying it correctly now, but when I originally started looking it up, I thought it was called a chemise. I'm going to be making my own chemise, and I want it long because as you can see, like my knees are showing, and I want there to be like a white chemise with a ruffle underneath. But this is what the skirt looks like now. It is so easy to throw together, and I just love how you can do this with any skirt that you find, well, pretty much any skirt that you find at the thrift store. Obviously, go for a cotton or a linen, a breathable fabric. Don't just grab any polyester material, because especially a silk or a satin or a faux satin, a fake polyester satin, anything like that is gonna fray really bad, and it's gonna be more difficult to cut and put back together. So go for the cottons, go for the linens. And I know there's another one I'm not thinking of. I'm so sorry, I cannot think of it right now, but this turned out so cute. And I am gonna go ahead for part 2 of this video. I'm gonna make a new corset, and I have been on a challenge this month on making a corset a week because I really wanna get good at making tops and corsets. And I feel like the more I practice, the more I make them, the better I'll be. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this corset that's on here because look at how cute that is. So that's my plan for this, is going to be that corset. Anyway, I hope you guys loved this little DIY trick. It's so easy, and I love that this skirt that I found has pockets in it, and they're so deep. Like, look how deep my pockets are. I'm like hidden in there. I love it. And what's even better is that I don't have to make anything for my daughter this year, but she is just going to look amazing because she always does. Oh, and if you guys haven't tried these yet, I don't know if they're always at the Ren Faire, but last year they were there, and they're the spicy wings. They are so delicious, and you know how the lines are stupid long to get any food, so I'm just letting you know in advance. Get those wings if you haven't tried them yet, because they are delicious. Grab 2, because they only give you like 5 or 6. Like, there's very few, and I wanted more, but I didn't want to wait in line for it again. And if you guys dress up at the Renaissance Festival, I'm super curious what you dress up as. Do you go as a mushroom fairy? Do you dress up as just a regular fairy? I saw last year people dressed up in full Game of Thrones outfits, like they were wearing the whole fur cape all the way down to the ground. It was pretty awesome, but I can only imagine how hot that costume was. But I'm super curious if you dress up, what do you dress up as? And I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.